This is one of a series of short films about some of the historic and prehistoric sites in South Wales. These are some of the more interesting, but not always well-known sites. Welcome to Trellech in southeast Wales. The village has a great deal to offer archaeologists. A row of 3 standing stones, probably late Neolithic or early Bronze Age. An Iron Age enclosure. A motte, possibly Norman. A nationally recognised holy well, the Virtuous Well of St Anne. A Grade 1 listed medieval church. And an abundance of medieval remains, all around a quiet, compact rural village. But we're here to ask perhaps the biggest question of all. The medieval city of Trellech was of major strategic importance in the history of Wales. But the remains of that city are all but lost. We're here to talk to the man who thinks that he's found them. And many archaeologists agree with him. Hi Stuart.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
All right.
So how did you find this field?
Well, we found it because we had field boundaries suggesting a town which was here.
Okay.
And that was further indicated by the pottery the moles were digging up.
Right.
And all the pottery was medieval. And also the farmers couldn't plough the fields, and suggesting for stonework. And here we have the stone walls.
So you've actually found the stones where the farmers were trying to plough.
Indeed.
So we know that Trellech was an important town in the past. Why was it so important?
Well, it was very important because this town here was a town built by the De Clares to supply their army with iron. And so it grew up a large town in order to expand their power base into the whole of Wales and conquer the country.
That sounds amazing. Have you got a map that you could perhaps show us?
Oh, absolutely. We've got one in the container. Please follow me.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Well, here you are. This is the map of Trellech that I was talking to you about. Mm-hmm. And it's actually from here, you can actually see the field boundaries that actually show where the medieval town is. Now, if you're expecting a agricultural pattern as you have agriculture use now, you expect big fields as we don't have down in this big corner here.
Okay.
But we don't. What we actually have are thin fields here alongside the main roads or trackways. Right. Now, that's inefficient as a farming pattern. And yet, that is what we have today. And yet, all the field boundaries are man-made. So it suggests a different use.
Right, so rather than being farming, it was something else.
Something else. Now, what we think we've got is in 124, which is the field we're in at the moment. Okay. We're currently located just here. Yep. What you have, effectively, is you've got the buildings at the front, outbuildings, gardens, and the back lane. Right. Effectively, the buildings have disappeared, the boundaries for the most part have disappeared, but the fronts and backs remain. And so you have a series of buildings along here. They then turn, go along there. They have disappeared, but the fields remain. Oh. But then you've got 1, 2, 3 big fields behind, which is the outline for the Midlands field system, rotation of crops. So effectively, where we think the town is it goes from Trellech up here, you've got the town extends all the way through here, all the way down to here, down to the cross, all the way down through this area, the thin fields round through here, all the way back and over here.
So you mentioned a moment ago that Trellech was used as a power base, really, for the invasion of Wales. If it were a power base, would you expect to find fortifications of some sort, administration buildings, that sort of thing?
Well, in some ways, we get administrative buildings, and what we have here, we've got a fortified multi-man house, which is quite nice. Okay. But in terms of fortifications, we do find some, but they are related to the town when it has been established and once the country has been conquered. Because when the declares are here, they're conquering the country. So they're building a town rapidly, and then they're expanding out. So they don't need to fortify the town because they're here on the offence, not the defence. But once you have conquered the country, then you need to defend your territory. So then you have the fortifications being put in.
Okay, so you've mentioned some of the elements that you might expect to find here. Would you mind giving us a look at what you found so far?
Oh, by all means, please follow me.
Okay, thanks.
Right, well, here we have one large building.
Okay.
It's a series of rooms we have. So here. And what we have are some stones on edge just there, which makes a fireplace.
Okay.
But that fireplace is a later fireplace. It's a post-medieval one. and we have a post-medieval floor through here, which we've then removed in order to reveal an earlier medieval structure below.
So you can reveal the layers of time effectively by digging down.
Yes, and that's exactly what we've seen. So we removed those the post-medieval floors. We've taken those down, and we've then revealed an iron slag floor structure here, which is medieval.
Right.
And in that structure, we have a stone-lined drain running in through here. There is another stone-lined drain running up through here. So we think it's used for industrial purposes. So effectively, you've got the hard iron slag surface to work on.
Okay.
You've got a stone-lined drain which takes water off the road, through the building and out again. So they're recycling the water.
Right.
And you've got fireplaces, so you heat the metal up in the fireplaces, work it on the surface, and then quench the metal down in the stone-lined drains. And then what we have found is you've got a wall here at the front, and interestingly enough, the walls at the front, which look medieval, are actually post-medieval.
Okay.
We've actually got a clay floor going underneath it, saying that it is post-medieval, and so it's an open-sided building to the road.
Okay. Yeah.
That wall isn't there. Right. So we know that if you were coming up in medieval times, you can come up with your horse, and then come in with your horseshoe, and have it mended or replaced,
right,
with the iron workers in here. But what's also interesting, we know the building is fully built of stone,
yes,
probably a single story, and had a thatched roof on it.
Okay.
And we actually found a part of that thatched roof had actually burnt and landed in situ next to the fireplace.
Okay.
And the reason why it had thatch was for fire protection.
Right.
Because although it would burn easily, it burned quickly.
Okay, yes.
So about 5 minutes after burning, it would stop.
So it's a kind of damage limitation exercise.
Effectively, yes.
So this building extends at least to there, but does it carry on further?
Yes, it does carry on further. I mean, we've got more buildings on further on down. What I now want to show you is the 45 Moulton Manor House.
Okay then, let's do that.
Right, well here we have the main hall of the manor house. That extends here all the way through to the end of this wall here. And it's split into 3 bits. We've got the main hall here, which is the reception hall of this half. We've got a cross passage for the tradesmen to be able to walk through the building and into the courtyard, which is where we're standing. And you've got the butting pantry at the end. And within the main hall here, within the reception hall, we have the entranceway. Now those entranceways are actually, there's porches added on into that. So though this wall here is right on the road, there's actually porches leading out into the road. Right. And so you come into the middle of the road, into a nice big porch, into a doorway. This is your reception hall. In the middle we've got a nice central fireplace. We know that because you've got charcoal all the way around, and that's made the clay a lot darker. So, and we think there'd be a metal brazier here holding the fire.
And what's there's a row of stones towards the end here. What's this thing here?
Oh, what's interesting is behind that the clay is light. It's all red clay. There's no charcoal in it. Now that suggests a break in the floor level.
Okay.
So what we think we've got there is builds up the clay there a bit higher. That becomes your high table. So if you were visiting, you have benches for people to sit on and boards for tables around here. But the senior guests would walk out to the high table, sit there, and the person in charge would be sat on a chair.
Okay.
And henceforth would be known as chairman of the board. And they would overlook his fireplace, conduct the meeting, wait for the servants to bring in food in through the cross passage, and at the end, when the people leave, they would leave through that door. He would come up to this, where there's this stone pad. This is based for a spiral staircase, up to the next level, corridor across to his bedrooms above.
Okay. You mentioned bringing in food then, so
yes.
Is there somewhere around here that food was prepared?
Indeed, and we have a beautiful kitchen I would like to show you.
Let's do it.
Yes. Right, well what we have here is the kitchen.
Okay.
And this is where they prepared the food for the manor house. It's a nice big room. And what we have in it is we've dug in it to this year, and we've got a nice big chimney stack here with the lintel in front of it. Now initially we thought it was quite a late construction, but when we dug down we were able to find an early lintel as well. Okay. And then it's actually built in within the wall, so it looks like it's original to the building. And then in the middle we've got another stone it's probably another fireplace, but in that case it would have had a metal pan on top of it, and probably for the brewing of hops.
For the making of alcohol?
Yes. So this is for your beer, for your wine.
Okay.
You fermented all your drinks in medieval times, so that's for your drinks. Potentially a bakery just here. But interestingly, next to the bakery, we have a soakaway.
Mm-hmm.
Now we know it's a drain because the tiles have collapsed in, and it's to soak away something like water from somewhere up here. Now that suggests that there's some sort of basin here to soak away from, and that's for something to discover for next year. But interestingly enough, just going back into the room itself, there is earlier structures underneath here, and there is an earlier wall here, which we found underneath the kitchen. So that shows that this manor house kitchen is not the first building on the site, and the fireplace where the brewing of hops is actually sits on above another feature because we've got a stone line drain running into it.
Okay.
So there's earlier features, so there's some other earlier structure underneath it, but in medieval times we have a beautiful kitchen here, fireplace here, another fireplace there, and then a drain running to some sort of watery feature just here.
So you mentioned water features. I think you said there were some others on site.
Well, indeed, yes, of course. This is where they might be washing, but they need to get the water from somewhere,
right.
So I'd like to show you the well.
Okay.
Well, here we have the well. That's a very nice feature, as you can see. It's stone lined halfway down, cut into bedrock for the other half.
Okay.
About 18 feet deep in total.
Wow. So this would be an integral part of this complex.
Absolutely. I mean, without a well, there is no water supply up here.
Right.
The main brook is used for the iron industry. That's further outside of Trellech. But round here, along all these houses must have wells, and this is the well for the manor house.
Okay. How high up are we here?
Well, we're about 200 metres above sea level.
Okay.
But the water table is extremely high. I mean, where we're standing right now will be underwater in winter.
Okay. Wow.
And what we can see is we can look down here, and the water you can see there is the water table.
Yeah.
And it's actually quite low because it's been dry for the last few days.
Yeah.
I even feel for the last few weeks actually. But eventually, when a bit more rain comes, that will fill up all the way up and flow out of the well.
Would there have been a structure around it to help to retrieve the water? I mean, your traditional bucket and...
Possibly. I mean, we need to excavate more around it. I mean, there might have been a timber structure on top of it. What was interesting is there's an awful lot of stone roofing tiles down here.
Oh.
Now, we know the courtyard around was an open-air courtyard. Yeah. So, potentially those stone roofing tiles could have come from the neighbouring buildings, but potentially there might have been a structure over the top of this, which has then collapsed into the well. But we need to do more investigation on that to understand that fully. But this well itself, as I say, in an open-air courtyard, is surrounded by the manor house here, behind, the kitchen over here, but then we've got the tower just here, which is now what I want to show you.
Okay.
Right, well, here we have a massive round tower. And now it's not entirely complete, but it's nicely complete on this side, but it's been robbed out on that far side. That's why we've had to backfill it.
By robbed out, you mean someone's taken the stone to use?
Somebody's taken the stone, yeah. So some of the locals have nicked some of my stone. However, they left me this bit, which was quite nice. Now, the actual thickness of the wall is you've got about a metre thickness of actual stone, and then you've got ironside coring, and then you've got an inner stone wall, and the whole thing is about 6 feet across. And so it's very thick construction. It's very, very well built. It's been built flat into the hillside. And of all the structures we have, this is the best built. And it's built circular, so it's a very strong structure. Now, we think it's a tower because it flanks the curtain walls. So it has a flanking either side of the wall. But then also from here, it would stand up, fortifying up the back end of that manor house, but also fortifying up the town. Because from here, a big tower could view across the gardens over here, view across the gardens over this point, and also over the common fields.
Okay.
And so effectively, what you then have is anyone attacking the town through the common fields, this tower could defend it, because it's sitting at the end.
So you've got a round tower here, which is obviously a very strong, looks like defensive construction. You've got a manor house over here. You get kitchens, fireplaces, iron slag. All of these things are, as you say, consistent with the building of a power base to invade this part of Wales. Has anyone suggested any alternative explanations for what you found so far?
Yes, I mean, there have been other alternative suggestions. One example was that there was a series of post-medieval farms. However, that doesn't make sense because the normal farming pattern in this area is you are dispersed. You have one farm, lots of land, and then another farm. So that doesn't make sense. Plus the fact that this is a Norman round tower and we've got the pottery to prove it. So it's a medieval site, if that's what we've got. It has also been suggested that the medieval settlement of Trellech is in the village. Now, we've gone into the village, and excavations have occurred in the village, but there simply isn't enough evidence there. And also, it misses the point. I mean, here we have the Declares, and here they've got a massive military power base, and they're coming to Wales to conquer the country. They're not going to build a small little settlement, little village in Trellech. They're here to build a massive city, control the landscape, control the country.
Okay, so you've obviously achieved a great deal so far. What's the next step for your project?
Well, the next step now is to further examine the manor house. We've worked in the kitchen this year and found very interesting evidence. And to expand on that and into the courtyard, get extra help from volunteers and students. We also get extra help from other people like Joe Bloggs who might want to come along on an experience day, and they can come for £50 and they can come and visit the site and discover things like this.
That's great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stuart. So there is growing evidence that these are the remains of the medieval city of Trellech. Stone walls, fortifications, iron smelting, and finds dating from the 13th century. If Stuart is right, these remains are of national importance to Wales. At the end of the 13th century, when Trellech was at its peak, it had an important role in the invasion of Wales by King Edward I of England. The Declare campaign, on Edward's behalf, based at Trellech, was overall a success. And the result of the war, of course, was victory for Edward. At the time, Trellech was one of the largest towns, if not the largest town in Wales. It's rare to be so close to a discovery which is that big.